Content here is for informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests.
Welcome back to Autumn Land Defenders. We are your hosts.
I'm Leia.
I'm Sonia. And today we'll be talking about the Southern Arizona Water Rights Settlement Act, or better known as SAWRSA. Before we get started, we're going to do a recap of the semi-annual meeting that we had in July. So, there was 5 presenters, including us. The first one was Central Arizona Project, or CAP, where they talked about the Colorado River.
Oh yeah, that's right. That
was presented by Charlinda Hodley. She is CAP's tribal outreach person.
It's really interesting because this was like what we were preparing for before going into that conference. So we're kind of like, oh wait, we understand.
Yeah.
We understand what she's talking about.
Our second presentation was presented by Dolores Polk, who is a legal admin specialist for BIA probate. She just kind of talked about the probate process and answered questions.
And we presented the 2024 Grace and Dignity Award to Julie Ramon Pearson, who's the 3rd recipient of this award. And she was part of the original defenders, and she also helped out the allottees a lot too.
Our third presentation was from Alice Templeton from Client Relations at Stantec, where she talked about allottee land use plans and business development. The 5th presenters were us. And
in our presentation, we just talked about kind of what a podcast is, how do you make one, what our process was, and because a lot of the audience there was like allottees, and a lot of them were older, and they don't really know what a podcast is, so we kind of just wanted to explain what it is and why we're making one, pretty much.
I think we did pretty good. We got a lot of compliments.
Yeah.
And a lot of support, and we're very thankful for that. We just hope we can meet and exceed your expectations.
Like I said, a lot of the stuff we got back, like because we had like a little Q&A session after we did our little presentation, and a lot of them were just like, oh, I'm really proud of this and this, and it wasn't really like there was questions, like just simple questions, like
there was a few questions, but it was like more technical questions rather than questions about the podcast. So it's more like, how do I do this? And
because we had like a barcode at the end of our presentation. And
they didn't know code, not a barcode.
QR. I'm thinking barcode. Anyways. Yeah, we had a QR code, and and they didn't really know how to scan it. It was pretty funny.
Why are you laughing at the elders?
It's funny. My grandma does the same thing. Like, wait, I don't understand. How do you do this?
Yeah, but it was a new experience. I haven't been in front of that many people in a while, so it was a bit nerve-wracking. Leia was standing there the whole time,
just gripping that microphone. I was like, oh god.
Just completely still.
Yeah, I get nervous when I talk in front of people.
Anyways, moving on. Our 6th and last presenter was Asarco Mining, which was presented by James Stewart.
Oh yeah, we did some interviews, which was new for us. It was kind of like a last minute thing. We just kind of did, and we're supposed to interview like a lot more people. We only did 3 people, like 4,
3 or 4.
We did a youth worker, one of the allottee staff, and
Julie. 3.
Yeah, we did 3 interviews just to kind of test the waters a little bit, to see how we kind of liked it, what we should do, questions we should ask, and stuff like that, to prepare us for hopefully something we'll do at the annual, like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll just do like an interview sort of thing with people.
Yeah, we're actually planning on the annual meeting to do something like that. We're also hoping to broadcast it live. So in January, we'll be streaming the annual meeting on Instagram. So something to look forward to. But until then, we'll give you small updates here and there throughout the months leading up to January.
So yeah, that was a recap of the semi-annual conference. Again, we'll update you as we know more information.
Yeah. Also, if you're an Allottee, you should be going to these meetings. Just saying. No shade.
You should be going.
No shade, but you should be going.
Respectfully. You should be going. Because they're really good information.
It's not very demure for you not to go. Half of them aren't even going to know what we're talking about.
They're like, what? Oh my god. It's not very mindful.
I'm very mindful of you. I'm very considerate.
Oh my god. You have to leave that in. That was too good.
Anyways,
now that we've calmed down.
we needed a breather.
Mm-hmm.
Or Leia needed a breather.
Yeah,
She wasn't expecting me to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but, well, I mean, you probably wouldn't notice unless you know us, but almost every time we record, there's always something wrong with my throat, so I always sound weird. I think the first time I had a cold.
Mm-hmm.
The second time, I was still getting rid of a cough. The third time, I got pneumonia.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Or wait, no, was that the fourth time?
No, that was... Actually, it might have been the fourth time. I think the third and fourth time.
Yeah.
It was like a month it dragged on.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that cough for a while. And now my allergies are coming back, so it's great. I'm having a great time. So we're going to do like a brief summary, and then we'll like deep dive into it and into the history and everything. This is probably going to be like a two-parter again, like the last episodes.
Yeah, there's a lot of information.
Just because there's a lot to cover, and we want to be able to give you guys almost every detail.
Mm-hmm.
So the Southern Arizona Water Rights Settlement Act of 1982 allowed the San Xavier Allottees to hold others accountable for draining the Santa Cruz River. As a result, the act restored water back to San Xavier and secured their water rights.
And in 1908, the Supreme Court Winters decision granted Indigenous people the right to sufficient water resources within their reservations. The 1963 Arizona versus California decision compelling states to involve Indigenous communities in future planning. And the 1976 Capert versus United States case expanded water rights to safeguard against groundwater withdrawals.
These decisions led the Tohono Nation to push the federal government to take legal action against the agribusiness owners, copper mines, and the city of Tucson. They were accused of draining water from the aquifer under San Xavier. The settlement became known as SAWRSA. After filing the lawsuit in 1975, it was signed by President Ronald Reagan 7 years later in October 1982.
And SAWRSA guaranteed water rights for the O'odham by requiring the government to build water facilities, fund irrigation systems, and create water management plans. The legislation promised water through the Central Arizona Project, CAP, pipeline, which delivers Colorado River water. If the promised water couldn't be delivered, the nation would be financially compensated. This legislation allowed for agricultural, commercial, or residential redevelopment.
It was fully implemented in 2007, totaling over 3 decades to resolve the water issues and put the legislation into full effect. 11 years after SAWRSA took effect, the aquifer started to recharge around 2018, which is a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get more into this, it's honestly aggravating.
Once you see like what we're talking about, you'll be like, wow,
Yeah.
Really?
It's like, damn. What more do you want? What more do you need? What more do you feel like you need?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially, oh my God, the trees.
We'll get into that.
Like, I love trees, but we're in a desert. You can't be putting trees that need tons of water in a desert.
Yeah.
Where there's literally no water after they dried up the river. Anyways, we'll get into it. So, after the proposed land development was officially announced, quote-unquote, dead, the defenders began having conversations in 1988 with the San Xavier District Council to create a general land use plan. The plan was finalized in 1992 and helps the district to have better control over developments and projects.
The general land use plan also led to creating zoning laws and setting goals for the district/community through a vision plan in 1990. This then led to more conversations and discussions on creating a community plan to help implement what they set out in the vision plan. These plans are very important documents that the district and the San Xavier District Council and community rely on today.
So after the defenders defeated Santa Cruz Properties, they took on the challenge of the Southern Arizona Water Rights Settlement Act. San Xavier has been a farming community for a very long time, with one of the main resources of water being the Santa Cruz River. The autumn name for San Xavier is WAC, which means where the water goes in. And that refers to the aquifers in the area, which is like water goes underground and then it like pops up in another place. Yeah. That's an aquifer.
And that's how, you use the water, you collect that water and you take it to where it is you need it.
Yeah.
Like for agriculture, doing your farms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And our ancestors managed to survive successfully in the Sonoran Desert for hundreds of years by developing coping strategies and only taking what is needed.
Keyword, only taking what is needed.
Meaning if they're not taking too much water, they're not using too much resources or anything like that. And the desert is characterized by its variability and change. So obviously, everyone lives in Arizona. You see how the weather is. One day it's sunny and hot. Next day it's like pouring rain and hailing. Who knows?
We're getting hail and 100-degree weather.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, our ancestors were able to adjust and adapt to the desert environment by accepting high uncertainty as normal and being flexible in their responses. I'm sorry, Grandma, don't yell at me. I'm sorry. Our ancestors, the Hohokam, built sophisticated water canal systems to survive in the desert environment and be mindful of the water availability.
Mindful. They were mindful of the water availability.
Mindful.
Very mindful.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I thought you were going to say it, but you never
I was going to, then I was like, I'm waiting.
So, with the rush of white culture and technology, the natives found themselves confined to reservations. As more and more settlers started to move into the Tucson area, this meant more usage of groundwater pumps. And by the 1890s, the Santa Cruz River started to disappear.
Dun, dun, dun.
Disappointing.
And in the late 1800s, the colonizers dammed the Santa Cruz River for aesthetic purposes. So they created the Warner and Silver Lakes, which were artificial. And many gardens and picnic areas lined its bank. And this is where we get to the trees. So they planted cottonwood, willows, and walnut trees on the riverside of the Colorado River.
You gotta say it how I wrote it. Because they were so smart.
Oh, sorry. Because they were so side-eye smart. They planted cottonwood, willows, and walnut trees. And what are those trees, you may ask? We did a little research.
Yes. And so we'll start with the walnut trees. Walnut trees generally struggle to survive in desert conditions due to their need for moist, well-drained soils and full sun. They thrive best in climates with warm, moist summers, complete opposite of what we have here, and cold winters. Our winters are cold-ish.
Ish. They're not as cold.
Yeah. A walnut tree needs approximately 10 gallons of water per day during the growing season to stay healthy and produce an abundant harvest. This amount should be increased to 20 gallons per day during periods of extreme heat.
How many months of the summer are extreme heat here? I think.
Well, we just hit 100 days of over 100-degree weather.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Interesting.
Yeah. We just recently hit 100 days of 100-degree weather, which beat our previous record was 76 days.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how different the weather was back then, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't that much different.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we're going through like a global warming, but
like even it was probably like still up in the 90s.
I would say still pretty hot.
Oh yeah. So I don't know what they classify as extreme heat compared to our summers here, because ours is like extreme and then some to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And if these trees are used to like warm and moist summers, Yeah, they would not do well here.
I mean, I know this past monsoon, well, I guess it's still going on this monsoon. We actually got a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So
But
maybe
like
that was-
compared to last year and the year before that, there was like no rain
Mhm.
or not nearly as much as this year. I think we got like twice the amount of rain.
I was gonna say it was raining a lot.
Yeah. Last
Which
year,
is good.
Last
so.
year it felt like it didn't rain that much.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But if you live in Arizona and you have a walnut tree, you should let us know the process of taking care of that.
Yeah.
Or if you have a cottonwood or willow tree as well. Oh, yeah. And then on average, a mature walnut tree will require approximately 30 to 45 gallons of water per day during hot and dry weather periods. So basically, half of the year.
Yep.
Half of the year, each tree is taking up 30 to 45 gallons of water.
Yeah. A lot of water.
And I don't know how many they planted around the riverbanks when they made these rivers, but that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right. So then cottonwood trees. They also need a lot of water.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Especially when they are young and establishing themselves. So when you first plant them. And a mature cottonwood tree can use up to 50 to 200 gallons of water per day. 200 gallons. That's a lot. And during their first few seasons, you should water them weekly with 10 gallons of water for each inch of the tree's diameter.
Oh, and then there's willow trees. Willow trees, I mean, I've seen pictures of them. I don't think I've ever seen a willow tree in person. But they're...
Is that the one with like the drapes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like usually they're in like...
I'm trying to think of like on Santa Cruz, like the Santa Cruz River. I'm trying to think if I've seen any like driving down. I don't think I've seen any.
I don't think so, no.
So obviously they attempted to plant it. Once it went dry, obviously they're not going to survive.
Yeah.
Because there's around 350 species of willow trees. And they're found primarily in moist soils in cold and temperate regions. Depending
Yeah.
on the size of the tree, willows can absorb up to 300 gallons of water.
300.
That's more than
It's more than cottonwood.
cottonwood.
Yeah. Willow trees grow best in moist and temperate climates with mild winters and cooler summers. Cooler summers. Who the hell? Sorry. Who the heck decided that it was a good idea to plant willow trees in Arizona?
I mean, there are some willow trees that can be in drier climates, but they
still need tons of water. Which, like, yeah, I love plants, but they need to be native plants.
mesquite
If you're-
trees.
Yeah,
They're
if
used
you're
to the
bringing
cactus. Just line the whole thing with cactus.
Literally.
They can survive hundreds
that'd
of
be so
years.
much better.
Hundreds of years, and no one will be going to the river either.
Exactly.
It's like a wall.
Yeah. Like, if you know that all these plants need lots of water, why are you putting them in drier climates and places that don't have that much water? Just because it looks nice.
I mean, it probably did for like a couple years, and then
Well, then the river dried up,
there's
and
no water.
then what do you do?
Eventually, those trees are just gonna die. And like I said, I don't know what tree. I'm pretty sure mesquite trees line the Santa Cruz River now.
Mesquite, Palo Verde.
I don't know if I've ever seen cactus.
I don't know much about plants,
Me either.
honestly. But I know what is native and what isn't native to here.
Exactly.
Just by looking at it, you can tell.
It's like, oh wait, that one's thriving. That one's doing well.
And then there's like a dying plant right next to it.
Uh-oh.
You should be able to leave the tree there and not really have to take care of it. It should be low maintenance. Because, I mean, the city of Tucson, I don't see them out much. Especially
I don't know how well they
with
keep the Santa Cruz
trees.
River, but
Yeah.
even
I mean, I
then.
know the pads are clear. And there's some parts that have, like, thriving plants.
But
But those are usually being taken care of by, like, groups of people.
Yeah.
Not the city of Tucson.
Obviously, you don't see the city of Tucson with a water hose going around watering the
Yeah.
plants, right? And when we were like doing these research about the different trees, I saw an article from, I want to say, what was it, 1943, from Arizona Daily Star, and quote, "The history of Silver Lake is more than an account of a small body of water. It mirrors to some extent the changes that came in this valley as the white man intensified his agricultural activities and upset the careful balance of nature maintained in this semi-desert country for centuries. That was in the newspaper. And they had, I'm not sure if you guys seen what the Santa Cruz River has looked like before, it drained. Like, there was a lot of water. Like, it was a lot of water just in general. And in this article, there's like a little picture, and there's like a whole lake. It's literally a lake, and then it's just homes and stuff like that around it. I'm just like, there's also like other resources we saw about the river before. You can Google it too. It looks completely different.
Yeah, like you can see it like flowing, and then now it's just dry. And
like, it's hard to believe that everyone gets shocked when the river's flowing, like when monsoon, especially this last monsoon. I don't even know if it flowed.
Yeah, it did a couple times.
Yeah, and like all that water, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, look, it's like flowing!" And you're
it's
like,
flowing. Like it used to always flow. Look at what you guys did.
Like I said, the newspaper said the white man.
Yeah,
newspaper said it.
We're not trying to be rude. I mean, we are trying to be rude, but not that rude.
Being nice.
Yeah. I think the rudest thing I said was colonizer, but am I wrong?
That's literally what a lot of this history stuff we said. It's kind of what they're doing. So.
Yeah, I forgot the word that we used in the dissertation, but it was like something. I think it was colonial.
Colonial, yeah.
Colonial culture. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that.
And we were trying to like, okay, well, how do we change that?
Change it to better understand. Best I could come up with was colonizer, white people.
White.
So on the native reservations, the Indian Services, or BIA, they dug wells to replace the sporadic rainfall with apparently abundant groundwater. But with the city of Tucson expanding, it began to jeopardize our source of water through their own pumping. Later, federal agencies and local water users turned to other technological solutions like importing water from the Colorado River, which is where CAP comes in, or CAP. So by 1990, it became apparent to the Wak O'odham that water availability was a crucial issue. By 1912, the Santa Cruz River was not able to provide enough water to irrigate fields for the growing city of Tucson, which caused non-native farmers in Tucson to sink wells into the aquifer. And again, the aquifers are underground areas of groundwater that provide water for drinking, agricultural use, and industrial use. So everybody's just digging for water when the Santa Cruz River was starting to disappear, which only
like an
harmed
alternative
our
source, I guess.
Yeah, but it only harmed our resources more.
And between the 1920s and 30s, the O'odham reached out to the BIA, who agreed to drill irrigation wells to supply water to the farm fields in San Xavier. And during the same time, Peter Blaine Sr., an O'odham who spent a lot of time working on the farms in San Xavier, wrote a book called Papago and Politics, where he shares about his life and tells what it was like to help supply water to the farm fields between 1919 and 1931. And during the farm season, he worked on his uncle and father-in-law's fields, and after the government put in pumps, he watched one of the pumps in San Xavier.
So before the government installed the pumps, they had streams coming out of the sand down in the bed of the Santa Cruz River. The water was used for irrigation by just having a ditch in the riverbed. The water flowed from the ditch into the canal and then into the fields. The spring was later improved by building a sand dam on the river. The dam was built to raise the water up to the canal opening. And the dam was often washed away by floods, and then it was rebuilt over and over again until the government installed the pumps. Pumps were put on the dam to lift the water to the main canal. With the pump being used, the water would no longer rise naturally because of the system.
And so the government only paid for both the fuel and pumper for the winter crops, and they paid for the fuel alone in the summer. And the government would pay young men to take care of the pump and irrigate the winter crops. So during the summer, if someone needed water, they would pay whoever was watching the pump so they could irrigate. And Peter, like I said, he was working Peter, who was watching one of the pumps, worked the midnight to 8 shift in the summer. And then he worked in the fields, and then at night he would go back to the pump again. So the pump Peter watched was pump number 5, and he watched this one pump and 2 others also aided him in this. And this was located on the west side of the dam. And this pump supplied water to 4 farms. And by the mid-1920s, 4 wells were drilled at San Xavier.
So a few farmers south of the dam who couldn't get water from the canal used a 42-inch round redwood-lined pipe with little holes all over it to get water. They buried it under a floodwater wash of the river. Water would come up this wash. When the Santa Cruz overflowed, the water would then seep into the ground and then in turn seep into the pipe. And there was also a headgate placed at the end of the pipe to hold the water back, so that when they needed water, they just had to open the gate and then close it back up when they were done.
Kind of a way to like save water.
Yeah. Again, only taking what is needed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The northeast part of San Xavier is where most of the farming was done. And next to that area, there were Mexican farmers that had their own land. And they also aided in watching the pump, or like keeping everything organized, I guess. And in return for their help and their contribution, they would reward them with supplying them with water as well. So it's kind of like a hand-in-hand thing. They worked together to do this thing.
They kept the canals clean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. They aided, so it's not like they were just taking the water. They were like, we'll help you.
It was a fair trade compared to what everybody else in the city of Tucson was doing.
We're just going to take
what they do best. Around the same time, the white farmers south of the reservation were drilling large wells which drained our water supply. Surprise, surprise.
Guess brown people have to stick together, huh?
So floods caused the river to widen when loose ground fell from both sides of the riverbanks. And around the same time, there was cracks that were starting to appear in the field, in the cropland. So we noticed that something was wrong. I mean, on top of the river slowly disappearing.
Yeah, and since it's the federal government and BIA's responsibility to protect water resources, the BIA failed to do so for the Tanah Autumn, and not to mention the lack of funding and the fact that Autumn lands are held in trust.
And for those who don't know what a trust is, it's a legal arrangement between someone who owns an asset and a trusted person or a third party to hold and manage that asset for a beneficiary. Since the water from the Santa Cruz River was taken by the colonizers, such as the city of Tucson, to make water private rather than public good, this caused autumn farming to become a thing of the past. And I know they're planning on expanding the farms, the co-op farms. Remember when we went to the tables at the semi-annual? When we were talking to Velma. They're planning on expanding it all the way to the Higdan. You don't remember? Wait, I literally have the papers.
Almost. Remember now? I remember.
Yeah, so they're planning on expanding it, but it'll be on the other side of the freeway.
For that, just like empty land. I didn't know that was like we owned that land.
Bro, the Higdan is right there.
I know. I don't know why I don't know why I saw somewhere that said that wasn't our land. But then I was like, then why is there nothing there? Anyways. So more farming. That'd be fun.
Yeah. That's good. And that's where we'll stop for now. And then in the next episode, we'll get into hopefully the rest of it. If not, it might be a 3-parter.
Sorry.
There's a lot of information to get through, so. And that's not even including our current water news.
Yeah.
So.
We do want to discuss that.
We'll get to it.
I will say it's about something with the Colorado River.
Yeah.
Something.
These are our thoughts and opinions. It's very hard to
keep
be nice
our
to white
disclaimer
people.
in your mind. These are our opinions.
Yes.
These are our thoughts. This is what we get from the internet. Okay. But yeah, we're like we're hitting an hour right now.
We're hitting an hour, but most likely it'll be edited down to 30 minutes again.
Hopefully.
Depends. I'll have to listen to it.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
We were very passionate about the willow trees and everything. Hope you had a good laugh. But our opinions, there you go.
Like, we could have a running river right now, but no. They want it to be greedy and make like a pretty scenic picture.
I'm gonna go find a photo see if I can find something with like all those trees and everything, like the artificial lakes that they were talking about.
Yeah, we'll
And we'll hopefully post. We'll post a couple photos, maybe some links you guys can read about if anything.
Yeah.
I know I saw this. There was a website that had old historic photos, so I had to find it again, and we can post a link to that. So yeah.
Also, speaking of white influence, if you haven't registered to vote, go register to vote. If you need help, we'll put a link in our description, and links
especially
to our
younger people who aren't registered, who don't know how.
Yeah, and I know for younger people, it's like a touchy subject because you don't want to be a part of it, but it's important, unfortunately. So the link will be attached to this episode. So
go educate yourself. Go learn respectfully.
I mean, we were there too.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that period where it feels like, why should you care? But your opinion does matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's like an overused saying, but it's true.
It's true.
When you get older, you realize it and you're like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I should have listened. And I know everybody says that, but like, it's true.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, I don't know any of my languages. I don't know that much about my history. And now I have to relearn all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I was given resources, I didn't want to take them when I was younger. So now I'm looking for those resources again. And it's a long process. And if you're being offered them, just take it.
You might actually enjoy it. Who knows?
Yeah. Learning about history is good. It's aggravating, but it's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's it.
Okay, we got to stop
That's
it now.
my spiel. Spiel.
Spiel. Whatever.
Yeah. Anyways.
Hope y'all enjoyed. Hope you learned something.
Have a good
day. Go look
day.
at the Santa Cruz River. Look how empty it is. Gorgeous. Amazing.
Think about what we could have had right now.
Look at the flowing water.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
All right.
Okay. I think that's it. I know this one ended kind of on a sour note.
Yeah.
But
it is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
it's gonna get better, but I mean, look at the river.
It's dry.
It's dry.
I mean, like I said, this rain season gave us a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's something to be good about. Okay, we'll end on that.
Yeah.
A lot of
rain.
Go do your rain dance, people.
And yeah. Just go out, connect with nature.
Mm-hmm. Go touch some grass.
We sound like hippies, but seriously, go touch some grass.
Go look at what kind of tree is out there? Your cactus. I don't know.
Don't hug it though. It's gonna hurt.
Okay.
Okay, now we're done.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
All right. Wait. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.